Just think about it.
LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division have counted more than 1,200 firearms, from handguns to rifles and shotguns, and no shortage of ammunition. The early estimate puts it at more than 2 tons.
They really hid quite effectively the fact that they had armaments in the house.
These findings in this condo at 1770 Palisades Drive led to quite a response by the LAPD bomb squad over the weekend. All weapons and ammunition have been booked into evidence. The legality and origin of these firearms are now under review by investigators, and an official cause of death for the resident whose body was found nearby in a parked SUV, it's still a work in progress. And the official word, no signs of foul play in this man's death. As far as the guns, still an investigation going on that side of things.
A secret stash of weapons discovered. The LAPD found more than 1,200 guns and 2 tons of ammo inside a home in Pacific Palisades. NBC4's Gotti Schwartz is live where neighbors watch police bring out enough guns from that house to supply a small army. Gotti?
Well, Colleen, you would never guess it from the outside, but inside of this garage, neighbors say they saw so many boxes of ammo, so many guns, that when police got here, they actually saw them tunnel through those boxes of bullets just to get to the back door. Hundreds of revolvers and handguns and stacks of military assault rifles, shotguns, and over 2 tons of ammunition.
2 tons? That's amazing.
The boxes of ammunition were on out behind the garage, and there were just lots of them piled at least 8 feet tall.
Neighbors couldn't believe the arsenal stacking up outside their homes.
And the pile kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
LAPD says they discovered the more than 1,200 guns while investigating the death of a man found in an SUV nearby. Neighbors describe the man as very mysterious.
He told one of the neighbors he was working for Vice President of the United States.
Claimed to be a CIA operative. Supposedly he claimed a military background. He claimed a lot of things.
While LAPD doesn't suspect foul play, they also cannot tell us if any of the guns were illegal. So far, that man's identity has not been released. Reporting live in the Pacific Palisades, Gotti Schwartz, NBC4 News.
From the outside, not all that different from the rest here on Palisades Drive, but this hillside condo was different, housing quite the stash of guns, well over 1,000. The man who lived here with the registered female homeowner found dead in a car a short distance away. That was Friday. Neighbors here in the Pacific Highlands, as it's called, still trying to piece it all together.
The fact that they were so secretive naturally aroused the interest and suspicions of those of us who observed what was going on.
To protect us all. And her family tonight, as you can imagine, is worried.
I cannot believe this. It's worse than a Twilight Zone movie, and we've lived through hell.
The mother of a missing Oxnard woman, Dawn Van Bunker, believes that her daughter is in the middle of a mysterious death investigation tonight and may be having a mental breakdown. This past week, police found a man's decomposing body in an SUV parked in the Palisades. And at a townhouse down the street, they found hundreds of guns and tons of ammunition. Well, it turns out that the dead man's fiancée, Catherine Nebron, is Dawn Van Bunker's boss, and the 2 women were with the man when he died. But they never reported the death because they believed he was a secret agent, but with a twist.
He was part alien and part human. and he was out to save the world, and he was higher than the CIA, and that every time we were there, that we were being watched.
And the women apparently believed that alien or CIA operatives would collect the man's body while they went to Oregon.
It was craziness that was totally nuts.
Harlan Braun is the fiance's attorney and is shocked by what was discovered at the Palisades home.
We found a lot of cash. We found guns. We found, stuff that could be used for snipers. There are cars that were modified for, desert travel. He could have been working for anyone. It's hard to imagine, however, that it's a total figment of imagination because there was so much money involved. There's almost $5 million worth of guns that were taken by the police. The police also uncovered 6.5 tons of ammunition at the one condo in the Palisades.
Laura Van Bunker isn't quite sure why her daughter believes the alien secret agent story, but she wants her to come home now and get some help. That daughter, Dawn Van Bunker, who is 39, by the way, has yet to contact her parents or her 2 teenage daughters, and may still actually be up in Oregon. Meanwhile, the dead man, identified tonight as Jeff Lash, has other storage units that are still unopened. No telling what they may find in there.
Parents of 39-year-old Dawn Van Bunker haven't seen or heard from her since July 3rd when she left headed for work in Santa Monica.
Dawn was going down the coast to see her client. She's a property manager.
The beloved daughter and mother of 2 was expected to return on July 4th. Her mother, Laura Van Bunker, received a text, though, saying Dawn was staying 2 days longer.
I felt that was odd because she was supposed to help us with the party at the clubhouse.
After a couple days and not hearing from Dawn,
not to call me back is so highly suspicious that I have no words for it.
Her parents became worried.
Why isn't she calling? She's not answering her phone. She's not posting.
And on July 10th, reached out to Oxnard police and reported their daughter missing.
She was last seen in the Santa Monica area.
Oxnard police have several new leads, including a possible sighting call from a man who says he saw Dawn with her female friend who also hasn't been heard from.
She's potentially with that female. We've located the neighbors of that female, and they have not seen that female either.
Other tips suggest that Dawn was into alternative therapy.
Known to be involved in some hand healing therapy.
We now have a face to put with that decomposing body found recently in the Palisades. The man who owned the 1,200 guns found in a nearby home, the tons of ammunition. This is a picture from 1998 of a very private Jeffrey Alan Lash.
A lot of people would call him odd because of his overwhelming desire for privacy and not knowing why. Some people considered him a little weird.
Bob Rentzer was Lash's attorney for almost 20 years, and Lash's problems almost always dealt with weapons. In fact, this is a handwritten note by Lash listing just some of his guns. The cash found after Lash's death doesn't surprise Bob Rentzer.
I knew him to have this perhaps fetish for guns to an excess. I don't know anybody who would have that inordinate number of weapons as I knew him then, and the collection only increased and increased.
The $250,000 in cash found with the guns does surprise Mr. Rentzer. So did the stockpile of ammo.
I did not know that he ever fired any of his guns, never. And he took pride in how they were maintained.
Dawn Van Bunker was with Lash when he died, as was Lash's fiancée and another man. For some bizarre reason, the women claim that Lash was a secret agent from another world.
I don't want to call these women crazy. There's a law about defamation, but I do find it laughable, and you can draw your own conclusions as to what I mean by that.
Mr. Rentzer says he has no idea what Jeff Lash did for a living, or how he accumulated enough wealth to pay for what he left behind. There is no evidence yet that Mr. Lash was selling or running the guns and the ammunition, but of course the investigation is still early. And last night we talked about some unopened storage lockers belonging to Lash. His attorney told me tonight, expect to see more guns there.
Private investigator Scott Ross trying to unlock a mystery. Why would one man
$495 price tag
have weapons like this?
Clip holsters.
Holsters gun locks, cleaners, casings.
It's just one box. And there are hundreds.
That's an understatement. Police seized 1,200 firearms in this upscale Pacific Palisades townhome. That's right, 1,200 pristine new guns, some with the tags still on them. Officers also found nearly 7 tons, yes, tons of ammunition, the largest weapon seizure from one home that the LAPD recalls.
And they basically had an assembly line where they'd pass them from one to another into the truck until the truck was filled with guns and ammo. We had to go bring back another truck.
That's not all police found. Piles of cash, $230,000. As to what he planned to do with it all, we may never know. That's because Jeffrey Alan Lash, age 60, was found in this SUV just outside his condo, decomposing there for more than 2 weeks. Lash's life, intensely private, became public when his fiancee called lawyer Harlan Braun.
I just assumed that she was a crazy lady who was coming up with some bizarre story.
The story, as she told it, Lash worked for multiple secret government spy agencies. He collected weapons. Lash also suffered from cancer. And as it turns out, his fiancée is the one who helped him into the car, putting a blanket over his body. When he died, Lash promised his fiancée his, quote, people would take care of everything, taking away his body and his guns.
She believed him?
Absolutely. For 17 years, she believed him. Probably very intelligent, very manipulative person. Or maybe it's actually true. Maybe she believed what was true. He wasn't a drug dealer. He wasn't a survivalist. He wasn't a gun merchant. It's inexplicable at this time.
One of the many mystifying parts for investigators, Lash appeared to have no income, no job, no criminal record, no family. But you can't just dismiss him as a hoarder because he amassed a weapons collection worth millions. So who is Jeffrey Alan Lash?
Just a nice, ordinary guy with a fascination for weapons.
That may be, but even Lash's own attorney of 30 years can't explain where he got all the money.
We never spoke about what he did for a living, and that's because I had the impression he didn't do anything for a living.
It's so bizarre. I mean, I don't know, did he inherit money? I mean, is it even legal to have that many weapons? I guess it is.
Well, as crazy as it sounds, because we asked that exact question to the LAPD, there isn't a limit of how many weapons you can own. He could own even more if they are all registered, if they are legal in the state, if they are secured. That's what the LAPD is working through. The bigger concern for them, Anderson, is this is a fire zone. All of California is. Imagine if there had been a fire with 6.5 tons of ammunition inside this home.
Afternoon. We are assembled here for a couple of reasons. One, because we have been in extensive meetings this morning, the law enforcement and leaders of law enforcement in Zone 4, which encompasses 11 counties surrounding and including Sacramento. And we have been discussing this morning what we can do and what we will continue to do to collaborate and coordinate and share information and intelligence among us law enforcement partners that are both at the local level, the state level, and the federal level. We've been having extensive conversations about topics that range from what we need to do around getting the guns from the hands of people who don't and should not possess them, to dealing with the real situation and crime that is occurring throughout the state of California in connection with mortgage foreclosures and fraud. And we have been talking about the work that we are doing and are recommitting ourselves to do around the issue of transnational gangs and the terrorist activities of those gangs up and down the state, and our commitment as law enforcement to stop it and to clamp down on it. So I'm very proud to be joined today by the leaders of law enforcement throughout the state to talk about these and many other important issues. And in particular, we are talking this afternoon here in the campus, the training campus of the California Highway Patrol, about our APPS initiative and what we are doing to get guns out of the hands of people who are on the list of armed and prohibited persons maintained by the California Department of Justice. I want to thank Sheriff Jones of Sacramento and District Attorney Jan Scully of Sacramento in particular, and both of them will be speaking. So the announcement that we have is that we, during the course of 6 weeks, the Department of Justice initiated a sweep of our apps list, and that sweep has concluded. And in the process of doing that, we have collected over 1,200 firearms from the hands of individuals who were on a list because they were known to have purchased a firearm and they were known to be a danger to themselves or society or convicted of a crime that prohibited them from possessing a firearm. This sweep involved individuals who were in possession of everything from rifles to assault weapons to handguns to grenades. This sweep involved the work of several agents, in fact, 99 different Department of Justice special agents. It involved collaboration and coordination with local law enforcement in 43 counties in the state of California. And this initiative produced, as a result of this work, 1,200 firearms, 155,000 rounds of ammunition, 2 grenades, and 19 assault weapons. 90% of the individuals from whom these weapons that you see behind me were taken are individuals who have been designated as mentally ill and therefore a danger to themselves or society. 10% of the individuals from whom these firearms were taken were known domestic violence offenders. This list that we maintain is a list that is a combination of those who are required to register when they purchase a firearm and those who are placed on the list because a court has found them to be mentally unstable or because they have been convicted of a crime, usually a felony that involves some level of violence. And in May, and over the course of several weeks, the Department of Justice agents went out and picked these up by basically knocking on the doors of these folks' homes and where they live and retrieving these firearms. This initiative was long overdue, and we have a backlog in California. In fact, we know that the backlog remains, and even after this sweep, there are about 17,000 individuals in the state of California who remain on the list and need to be contacted by law enforcement. Most of the work that needs to be done here is work that requires local law enforcement to do it in addition to doing the daily work that law enforcement requires and needs to get done. And the reality of it is that we as a community cannot take public safety and law enforcement for granted. In order for law enforcement to be able to do this kind of work, your police departments, your sheriff's offices, your DA's offices need resources. And knowing that there has been a great challenge to the state because of the economic climate, knowing that police departments and sheriff departments in this state for the first time have been in a position where they have to lay folks off, DA's offices have to lay folks off, we as a society have to say that we understand we have to make cuts, but the line has to be drawn when it comes to public safety. And that of the very challenges that we face, we must meet, but highest on our list must be the safety of our community and the individuals who live in these communities. So part of what we're here to announce is not only this operation and the success of this operation, but we're also here to announce very important legislation that is meant to connect the gap between good intentions and what we can actually do or not do. And that means connecting the gap between what we want to get done and the resources needed to get the job done. Senator Mark Leno is sponsoring legislation, which he will talk about, which will allow us as the Department of Justice to give local law enforcement the financial resources, the human resources it needs to actually go and knock on the doors of these dangerous folks and collect these weapons. And it is legislation that is long overdue, and it is something that should be supported by everyone who understands the lethality that is really happening in our streets if we do not knock on the doors of these offenders.
Just think about it. Just think about it.